How you doing today, folks? Now, amongst all this current craziness in our current social climate, I thought I would record this video. This is going to be from 3 points of view. I want to tell about a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, genuine, like straight badass, to be very clear. If you think you're bad, chances are he's badder. I'm going to then tell from a general information perspective, and then I'm going to go tell my actual story. I've told my story before. Some of you guys know about that. Maybe some of you guys don't. Either way, it does take a very much of a direct path as far as self-defense, the pros, the cons, and what you can actually look at if you do decide to go that route. And also the reasons why, for the most part, yeah, I hope you avoid it. But here we go. So, first off, I got off the phone with a buddy of mine maybe 20, 30 minutes ago, right? Who's currently in the hospital. Now, to do a preface to this whole thing, one, I've already asked permission if I can tell the story on my channel. He said I can. I cannot mention his name. I cannot mention his city. I cannot mention anything that might identify him, but I can talk about it. So, first things first, this man is a Marine Corps veteran. He served 22 years. Now, he is a kind of a... Well, I don't know if I can even say that. He works for the police force, but I'm not going to say in what bracket because I don't want to accidentally screw him over. So, not too long ago, we're literally talking like maybe 2 days ago, he got into a pretty bad situation, right? Now, mind you, my buddy, as I said, is a genuine badass. I sparred this guy before. He kicked the shit out of me. Oh my God, it wasn't even a competition. So, he got into it with some people. And in regards to who started what or whatever, honestly, I don't know. My bud's a really calm person, so I have to imagine he's not out there starting trouble. But either way, basically got into a fight. He was jumped. Now, my buddy carries a Microtech Scarab with him at all times. It's just his personal preference. And he got into it off duty with some people. One person had a knife, the other person just would have their bare hands. So he deployed his actual weapon, basically told them to get away. You know, leave it alone. I don't want problems. They proceeded to pursue him. The guy without a knife was taken down immediately. Was not stabbed, to be very clear. He used the actual brunt end of the actual weapon, clocked him, and that was it. The other one, they then tussled. Because of what a knife fight is, it requires you to be very, very close. If you want to be able to hurt the other person, you have to be close. If you want to be able to defend yourself, you have to be close, short of running away. And then, you know, if someone happens to be faster than you are, you get stabbed in the back. Not really a good situation. They fought. They lost. Now, again, my bud is very well trained. He's not the average Joe. He's not some random civilian. He doesn't have a slight martial art background. He's a genuine soldier and has been doing this his entire life. In one way, shape, or form. They were taken down. Nobody was killed. One person had they believe might have brain damage because that's again just from getting actually hit. Like, the guy's a beast. And the other one was stabbed 4 times. Well, to be clear, it was slashed 3 times and there was a 4th one, but it was like, it barely even went in. It was kind of like a superficial wound. But it's still being stabbed, so I'm sure it sucks. That whole thing was taken care of. My bud called the cops. Again, he is also with the police force, so there wasn't any real issue. In the process of this whole thing going on, again, mind you, 2 people went at him. 1 person was taken out immediately, then became a one-on-one issue. He was stabbed twice as well. It wasn't a light laceration or whatever. He was actually stabbed twice in the stomach. Now, from what he told me, he didn't even feel it. He had no idea. The whole thing happened. He called the police, the officers came, and they pointed out the fact that he had blood pooling in his midsection. So he didn't even feel it. Now, the significance to all of this being is that everyone says that, you know, hey, if you're in a knife fight, you're going to get cut, right? But people always assume that's if you're untrained. People are always like, you know, man, I'm a badass. You know, I can get this whole thing done. No. Again, my buddy is more well-trained than I am. Chances are more well-trained than you are. He has multiple deployments underneath his belt. And again, even though he was victorious in the fact that they were taken out of commission, again, nobody was killed, he was still stabbed twice. Now, one of those is superficial, and the other one happened to hit a major organ, so he went to surgery. That's why I didn't hear about this for a couple of days. He's fine, but during everything going on right now, I see a lot of people doing some really mall ninja stuff or carrying knives or stuff like that. And I want to really make this abundantly clear. You're not Rambo. Even if you are, because again, this dude is an absolute monster, you still are probably going to get stuck. And it's going to suck. And my boy almost died. Obviously, he's fine, but it was close. So that's one scenario. Now, the second scenario is the whole tactical thing, right? Now, I carry this knife every day. Well, I carry a fixed blade every day, to be clear, but for the most part, I carry this. It's just super slim, slender. I don't really feel it. It weighs almost nothing. Imagine this in a courtroom. Now, they show the judge and the jury and everybody else the skull, American Sniper piece to it. Like, what is the knife aimed for? It's aimed for tactical use. Okay, why are you carrying a tactical knife on a daily basis? Now, to be very clear, I carry that, and I've never had to use that knife since I've been carrying it. I've gotten into fights, to be very clear. I've used my bare ass hands. Something like that, you got to keep in mind that the judge is going to see that the jury is going to see that. If you were carrying an Emerson CQC-7, for example, what does CQC stand for? Close Quarters Combat. So if you're carrying a knife meant for utility purposes, or that's what you argue, but you're carrying something that has a tactical flair to it, you're pretty much guaranteed to be fucked. And you're going to be fucked because they're going to ask you, and it's a valid point, why are you carrying a tactical weapon unless you are expecting trouble or looking for trouble? The answer to that is, well, I think it's cool. I like it. I don't know. None of these are good enough answers. Now, I rehearsed this little conversation in my head, right? And I still don't know what the hell I would say to make it justified. Because again, they could be like, oh, well, you're just going to cut paper in boxes. You know, why don't you carry a freaking slip joint? Why don't you carry this? Why do you need to carry a knife in general? Honestly, these are all valid concerns. So, as far as a judge jury situation, already the odds are stacked heavily against you. So be careful. And this is my personal story. Now, I've been in a knife fight. To be clear, I've been in a few of them because of, well, prison, to be very clear. If you can't tell by the fucking tattoos and everything else. But the one on the actual street, first off, was with a Sebenza, which I lost. If you stab anybody with a weapon, it's evidence you're going to lose it and the loss will hurt. So if you have to do something, I mean, I'm not saying you should, but the whole thing, oh, I'm going to spend like $2,000 on a Medford. Fuck that. Spend like $20 on an Ozark Trail, $5 on an Ozark Trail. Or maybe buy a decent Cold Steel for like $20-$30. It's not going to devastate you if it gets taken. Because again, it's going to get taken. I submitted complaints. I did a whole bunch of other different types of stuff trying to get my knife back. And we're like almost 8 years later. And actually longer than that. It's been a long ass time. I still don't have that Sebenza back. I never will. Chances are it's in an officer's pocket. But, you know, either way, I don't have it. You won't have yours. Don't do it. Now, so what happened is I was walking down relatively close to my actual home, right? Literally walking to the grocery store. There is a very large homeless population in Stockton, California, where I live. There were some hobos there. They asked me for money. I didn't have anything. Like, I don't carry cash on me pretty much ever. You know, most people nowadays don't. I carry a debit card. Like, I'm like, bro, I don't have anything on me. I just have my debit card. Like, there's a corner store down the street. I'm like, you want me to grab you a bag of chips, man? To which they get all upset. First off, You ask somebody for money, they say no. Yeah, it's kind of their right, but beside the point. So anyways, they start getting angry and they start saying some other stuff, and then one person fuels the other. This is normally what happens, man. One person is there, they're nervous, or at the very least, they don't want to fight. If there's a bunch of them there, yeah, it's, for the most part, it's going to go bad. So one person fueled the other, and next thing you know, I had 4 or 5 people all talking shit. Thankfully, they all didn't jump. 3 of them did. Now, first off, I am trained. I'm not military, but I've been practicing martial arts since I was 7 years old. It's been an exercise for me. I've also been in fights because of where I grew up at, so violence is not something I really ever look for. But if it comes down to it, I can do it. Now, I grabbed my knife out of my pocket, thinking that would make them basically back off. Some of them it did, right? But another person pulled out another knife. Okay, my response to this isn't to talk anymore. So what I literally did is I threw up a haymaker, well, to be very clear, with my left hand. So he did this and dodged. And the moment his hands went up, I went, and then I jumped back, and then I waited again. It never went farther than that. The other people saw their buddy freaking kind of curl over, and that was it. This all happened very fast, and despite all that, I was still stabbed. Exactly how? Was it him falling to the ground? Was it just some weird, unlucky circumstance? Did I stab my fucking self? I have no idea. But either way, I was still stabbed. I was stabbed in the upper thigh. It did not hit an artery, though it was insanely close. So that little thing could have also been the end of my life. He actually understands how dangerous it is. You play out these scenarios in your head, and mind you, I train. I train all the time. Martial arts is my favorite exercise. Do I go to the gym and work out? Yeah, I got big ass arms and shit, but my main cardio is I do martial arts, and I practice 6-7 hours a day sometimes because it's fun to me. Even despite that, I didn't see it coming. I still to this day don't know when I got stabbed. It just happened. And I was like, oh shit. It doesn't matter how trained you are, dude. Once that fight starts, shit happens. It's dangerous. And that's not even counting all the consequences that come after that I'll speak about now. And I called the cops. Now, mind you, there's a camera right where we're at. So basically where my house is at, there's a couple different grocery stores, and there's also a church. And the church for the area I live in is actually really nice. So there's a camera right next to that. The whole thing is caught on camera. So I call the cops. I don't think anything of it at all. They ask me what happened. I tell them what happened. Kind of a stupid thing because they got twisted against me in court. They told me to put my hands behind my back. I asked if I was under arrest. They said, no, we're just going to question you because of the nature of the situation. We need to have you detained for our safety. My response is, that makes sense, sure. They handcuffed me. They asked me what happened. I told them what happened. They told me I was under arrest. I thought I wasn't under arrest. The response to that is to just start reading my rights. They put me in the car, and I sat in a holding cell for, I think it was like 3 hours. Then I went to the actual jail, and I sat in reception for like 12 hours. That was a long time. Eventually got put in my actual cell, which was, I don't know, it's 23 hours a day locked up, so it's not particularly fun. A couple days go by. To be very clear, this happened on Thursday. Court doesn't run on Fridays where I'm at, so I was there until Monday. Thinking in my head, I didn't do anything wrong. I was defending myself. That guy had a weapon or whatever. Am I going to be sentenced because I defended myself better? There's all these type of rationale you put in your head. But for me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be fine. Court comes around. My lawyer talks to me. To be very clear, he's a public defender because I wasn't able to afford a lawyer at the time. And he basically tells me I'm fucked. So this is what the officers are saying you said. You admitted to stabbing this guy. Yada, 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 yada. I'm like, but man, there's a tape. My lawyer says, I saw the tape. You were the aggressor. It makes you look worse. My advice is do not mention the tape. If they see that, you're going to get at least 20 years. Because of my martial arts background, I'm all about preemptive strikes. So if it comes to a point to where we can't talk it out, the last thing we're taught to give somebody is a warning. You know, we don't want some big, gigantic, drawn-out altercation. We want to be able to end it as quickly, as fast as possible, and then, again, jump back and be ready to go again and do the exact same thing. Also, if you've ever been jumped, how you survive getting jumped is the first person you fucking hit, you make goddamn sure they go down, and you make everybody else take a second to think. And the moment they think is the moment you hit or you fucking run. So that's what I did. What happened is that I went up to the actual stand. I followed my lawyer's advice. My martial arts background was immediately brought up in court. How well trained I am, the different belts that I have fought professionally before. If you want to look on YouTube, you can probably find that. And it just started to stack up really well against me. To which my response, you know, they asked me if I had a statement, and I was like, there was multiple people I feared for my life. To which the DA says, based on your background and what you're capable of, as well as your size and your weight, I don't believe that. That was the first court hearing. The second one happened 3 weeks later. 3 weeks of me sitting in this cell wondering what the fuck just happened. Questioning my entire life. Now, within these 3 weeks, I don't have a job anymore. Okay? Rent has already passed due. So I'm concerned if I'm going to have a home anymore. I don't know what's going on. Now, I also want you to take into consideration that your family will do the best they can to be there for you, but it's expensive. We're talking like $1 a minute for a phone call. To give you an idea how much this little ass bag of top ramen costs $3.50 inside. That is $84 for a pack of 24. This is like $4 on the outside. This burrito, I remember this exact burrito is something that I used to always see people buy. This is $6.99. You can get an entire package of these for $6.99 easily. It adds up. Like, it doesn't matter how much they might want to support you unless they're really wealthy or well off or willing to completely sacrifice everything to be in contact with you, which I personally didn't want. You're going to lose contact and you're going to have that big question mark in your head. What the fuck is going on? 3 weeks pass. I go to court. I expect to have some sort of resolution happen. Nothing happens. The DA requests that 3 months so they can do an investigation. 3 months. Mind you, my bail at this point in time is set at $500,000. You only pay 10% of that in bail. That's still 50 grand. I don't have 50 grand. So I wait. Another 3 months pass by. Now, at this point in time, I was married, had a kid. I missed the birth of my child as I sat in county jail. My wife, we are divorced now, but at the time she was my wife, bless her heart, did the best she could to stick by me. But at a certain point in time, again, distance does happen. Nothing against her, but either way, it killed us. Months go by. Again, go to court. It takes, you get shackled up, put on this orange jumpsuit and everything else. And the process of getting from your cell to that actual courtroom to where you're actually standing up probably took 3.5 hours. Okay, I was out of there in probably 3 minutes. Again, we request more time, yada, 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 and it's granted. So I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and again, at this point in time, by the time I saw a judge again, 6 months had passed by. All right, 6 months. What I did to get me there was, again, in self-defense and justifiable self-defense, in my personal opinion. I've already lost 6 months of my life, my job, my house, my partner. I missed the birth of my fucking child. So they start preparing for the actual pretrial. My lawyer comes up to me and tells me, hey, the DA has an offer for you. You'll get out in a couple of months, but you have to basically submit to this whole felony thing. You have to admit you did something wrong. They'll qualify everything that happened as time served. You'll get 2 with half. You've already done most of your time. Technically, you're supposed to do a year. I'll try to get you out in 10 months. But if you don't take this deal, you're looking at attempted murder, concealed weapon, and a whole bunch of other different types of stuff. Now, mind you, I have a folding knife with the pocket clip showing. It's not concealed. It does not matter. They can say whatever they want to say. All right? I take the deal because, again, if I don't, I'm looking at 20 years minimum. It's a long ass time, and it's a hell of a risk. Maybe it would have been fine. Maybe I would have asked for a trial. The jury would have saw what happened and been like, he's innocent. But 20 years is a hell of a risk. Because if you go to trial, you're fucked. If you lose, you are genuinely fucked. Fun fact, I have a buddy of mine, not this other buddy. This is years ago. That had something similar happen to him. He went to trial and he got 37 years to life. He didn't even kill nobody. And the situation was worse than I was, and he got hurt pretty badly. But that person happened to get hurt more. It's a bad situation. Now, mind you, where you live has a lot to do with this. Again, I'm in Stockton, California. If you happen to be in Texas, for example, I know one person, not in Texas, to be very clear, that got into an altercation with somebody and shot them in the face, and they were completely fine. They didn't even go to jail. It was something like stand your ground law or whatever. But that's not where I'm at, and it might not be where you're at. Not many states have that stand your ground law. Most of them, they just took a book at your ass and they see you as a paycheck. Because every single day you're in jail, they get paid. It's fucked off. When I submitted to my deal, again, I did some time. I got out. Now, for the next 7 years after I was released, I had to fight to get every single inch of progress done in my life. The job I had before was done. Whenever I wanted to get a job, I had to check that box. Have you been arrested in the last 7 years? Yes. Is it a felony? Yes. Is it violent? Yes. Now, for most folks, that's where it ends. And I get it. You don't want to risk your business. But again, for 7 years, everything had to be rebuilt. I missed the first year of my daughter's life, for Christ's sake. Now, I want everybody to take this into consideration when I think about carrying a knife for self-defense. People say, I'd rather be judged by 6 than carried by 8. Yeah, try watching your entire life crumble in front of you for your principles. See how tough you really are then. See how much it's really okay with you. Maybe you'll survive, man. Maybe you'll be like my buddy and almost die, even though you're trained. Maybe you'll be lucky. Maybe you'll spend the next 37 years of your life in prison. Who knows? It ain't worth it, man. It's just really not. If I could go back in time, honestly, I would have let those dudes jump me. I would have let myself get poked. I would have taken the chance of maybe dying because I would know that the next 7 years of my life would have been a fucking misery. On top of that, I still feel bad for that man. I'm not some savage ass killer, man. I'm not like somebody that just wants to hurt people. So, irregardless of what happened as far as the circumstances, the fact that I stabbed somebody, dude, that will never not haunt me. Furthermore, I got sued for that. So, on top of, serving a year, losing everything else, I got sued. They asked for, I think it was $200,000. The judge granted them 50. It's still 50 grand. After taxes and everything else, they'll probably net like $30,000-$40,000, but that's money that I don't have. Mind you, now it's already paid off, but it was a lot then. Thinking about it, it's still a lot now. There are so many different ways this will haunt you for the rest of your life. Don't do it. And if you really have to, if you really have no other option, man, I just urge you all to weigh the consequences because they're fucking heavy. Take care, folks.